99.3 KNSI. Welcome again to Taking You Home with VoigtJohnson Real Estate. You can hear it every Thursday morning, 7:23, Saturday morning at 7:50. Brandon Johnson in studio with us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bob.
Okay, fall is definitely here. Kids are back in school.
Yes.
Has that impacted you guys at all?
You know, market conditions always subtly change from spring through the summer months into the fall, relatively consistently, just to various levels, right? And so the spring is kind of crazy. Multiple offers, you put your home on the market, and I'm generalizing, right? But
Sure.
There's minimal things that we look at. We say, okay, do this, do that. In the fall, it's a little bit different. And on a previous segment, I think we talked about having to compete for buyers
Right.
a little bit more, doing things, possibly looking at listing in the spring versus the fall. But if not, you're going to need to compete for buyers more so than you would in the spring of a year.
Is there a particular time of the year when you have window shoppers as opposed to having serious home buyers?
Well, I think there's serious home buyers all 12 months of the year.
Yeah.
What I would say is, and there's window shoppers all 12 months out of the year. What I would say is the volume of demand is much stronger typically in that spring months. What I alluded to is having to compete for buyers to a greater level as a seller in the fall. Conversely, from a buyer standpoint, you have less competition when you're shopping as a buyer. So as a seller, what that means is you're not always necessarily getting the A+ slam dunk buyer from a financial perspective.
Gotcha.
And so what we're navigating, and I think the biggest value proposition for our clients that we're seeing or that I'm working through now is when we have a seller whose home's on the market currently now in the fall, looking for red flags, really looking at that buyer to say, what is the likelihood they're going to be able to perform on those terms?
Oh, gotcha.
And we were running into that quite significantly.
Okay,
now.
so you're talking about like debt to income ratio, that kind of thing?
Talking about
Down payment? What?
Is the buyer's lender representing an accurate picture?
Oh, gotcha.
On a pre-approval letter, that's when we run into ones where the buyer struggled to come up with the earnest money and had to get it in iteration. So a lot of red flags that come up, and our job as the agent is not to just necessarily say, no, we don't want to work with them.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing we can do as a brokerage is to put in the contract measurable milestones to make sure they're meeting those and moving forward so that we know if it's going to go south, we know sooner than later and pull the plug, because the last thing we want as a listing brokerage is for our seller to be held hostage contractually that they cannot sell that home to another party, correct?
Sure. No, you must know. I mean, if you have somebody that walks in the house or walks in your office and goes, yeah, no problem, I've got my pre-approval letter here and it's from Bob's House of Finance, and you go, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, because Bob's House of Finance, a little shaky. We've had some bad experiences with them. Can you do that? Can you have that conversation?
Our job as a fiduciary to our clients is to factually represent, what our experience is.
Yeah.
Do we want to say, oh, that person is, belliger them?
No.
But if we can speak to prior experiences that are factual, I think that's our obligation to represent.
I would too.
And that's where it comes into, we had, again, not to go down a rabbit hole, but we got a pre-approval letter, and because of the purchase price was rolling in an exorbitant amount of closing costs, we wanted that appraisal done as soon as possible. Well, we went weeks where the appraisal wasn't even ordered. And so we really had to get on that lender and that other party, and we ended up canceling it because they just weren't able to perform. And so it's that sort of things that we have to really measure rather than the set it and forget it approach to show up to closing.
Absolutely.
We had another one where the condition of the home we weren't marketing as FHA. Well, an FHA buyer came through. We didn't have any other offers. We had a conversation with our seller that this may be a little bit of the roll of the dice, but we're going to put in non-refundable earnest money. We're going to make you perform X, Y, and Z to know, because we don't want other buyers to not be able to offer on the home. And sure enough, that deal fell apart 2 days after it was under contract because we were on top of what their measurables were.
But what a great example of what you are able and willing to do at VoigtJohnson to make sure this is going to work.
Yeah, and I think we owe our clients, rather than the approach of we're just trying to see what sticks to get a commission.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which that dynamic is out there. That is not our approach at all. And it really comes down to, our job isn't to say yay or nay on anything.
Right.
Our job is to speak from our experience and give recommendation and say it's really the client's tolerance level given the dynamics of the situation, and then just best protect or minimize the risk in all aspects.
Sure, exactly right. Now, this process, right, from the time where you say, oh, you know, honey, I think we're going to go out and buy a house.
Yes.
Right? I think back to the old days when open houses would be out there.
Yep.
And this is going back to the serious home buyers versus tire kickers, okay?
Yeah.
So in the old days when there'd be open houses all over the place, you could do that on a Sunday afternoon. Let's just drive around and look, right?
Yep.
I think you have to be a lot more serious now, don't you?
Yeah, you'll still see, I did an open house here just recently, and you still get that combination of both people
Yeah.
that are just getting ideas,
Yeah.
looking, or the one I'm referring to, the people that actually ended up buying the house came through the open house.
Sure.
So there's all dynamics, but it's good to, open houses are a good way for sellers even today to get exposure.
Yeah, and I look back, having to go to an open house to actually see a piece of property now. Now we can just sit in the living room
Yeah.
and go through the MLS right there.
Yep. What's online now is with the 3D tours and the photography and the drone work is very nice to be able to shop, especially from a distance. And that's the dynamic that it's opened up, is shopping from a distance.
You know, I wish people could see the look on your face when you start talking about your success stories. You just get this buzz about you. You know, it's kind of neat to be able to take care of people, huh? Make
Yeah, it
dreams
is.
come true.
We're passionate about what we do, and again, you'll find, knowing Heidi and myself and all of our agents, that the passion is more about representation than the sales approach of the industry.
And experience really makes a difference too.
It does, especially in an ever-changing dynamic.
Yep, don't miss it, folks. Taking you home. Start that home search at VoigtJohnson.com. This program is on the air Thursday morning at 7:23, Saturdays at 7:50 here on KNSI. I've been speaking with Brandon Johnson. Thanks again, sir.
Thanks, Bob.
AM 1450, FM 99.3, KNSI.
Sorry if that one I just